All right. Hello. And I'm back for the latest episode of the Awaken podcast with Maria. All right. I'm your host, Maria Christine, and I am so excited today to introduce our guest. Our guest today is Sarah Lambert. She is a high performance business and leadership coach for the top 1% and a mom of two. Her work has helped hundreds of women scale their online businesses in an aligned and easeful way using nervous system informed strategy and leadership. And as someone who also spent a lot of time studying the nervous system for many years in my healthcare career and wondering why aren't we getting this work into the hands of the top 1%? Why aren't we doing this with the leaders? I was really seeing it from my end of like in healthcare, it was literally once a person hit a breaking point, had a cardiac event, was having chronic pain as the top CEO of their company, that they would find themselves at Mayo Clinic. And we would be doing some of these similar nervous system informed strategies to help them. And I was like, where are we doing this on the front lines? And so
Yeah.
I'm so excited to introduce Sarah Lambert because she's that person who is doing with this with the top performers, with the highest leaders. And she's also, I had to have her on today because she is an embodiment of this work. So, Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Maria. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited. And Sarah and I, we actually crossed paths in a business mastermind in the last year. And her and I just clicked. There are some people who just get it. And I was like, one, I love that she's a little bit woo, but she's also deeply embodied in the work that she does. So, Sarah, can you share, as it is right now, what is the work that you do? What is lighting you up right now?
Yeah, thank you for this question. As someone who is constantly growing and evolving, this work will invite you to grow and evolve very quickly.
Yes.
It is really fun to navigate business and to see what doors open when you really are in alignment. And so there is so much that I'm really stepping into right now and so many shifts happening right now as I feel like a lot of people can agree with. There's so much change happening right now. But one
Yes.
of the really big things that I'm obsessed with talking about and having conversations with women, with leaders, this top 1% around is looking at their business from a different perspective. I think that for the last few years, people have got really good at the personal brand and making money on social media. And you do this like X plus Y equals Z, and you make your money.
Yes.
And what I'm really seeing is this opportunity for all of these people who have established something to step into something so much bigger for themselves and to start working with that top 1%, to start pushing their own edges,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to build something that is bigger than they've ever allowed themselves to dream. Or maybe they allow themselves to dream, but they don't see how that's possible for them.
Yeah, yeah, Sarah, I'm feeling that too. That right now, I just think like there's a lot of people in the online business coaching space, especially, but I think even broader across industries. I think like there's that high performance woman leader CEO. You get this idea, and because we've been built like for brute force, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna hustle, I'm gonna make it happen, and they do, right? And like, and then they get their business to a certain level and then there's this layer, like there's this evolution, this depth, this like, okay, either what do I want to do next? Or how can I increase my capacity to help more? And
Yeah.
I think like you can get stuck in the, well, is it more strategy? Do I need a new idea? Do I need a new marketing plan? Do I need a new offer? And it's like, sure, you can talk about the strategy side till the cows come home. But you and I both
Mm-hmm.
know it's oftentimes like deeper identity work of like, okay, yeah, great. You've built your business to X. You've got, your six figures coming in, multi six figures coming in. And then that woman is like, okay, but there's more. Like she's probably just scratching the surface of what
Yeah.
she came here to do and create. And so, as someone, a couple questions are coming through, which is one, how did you find yourself into this work? How did you hop off of maybe either like the hustle wheel or the strategy game? Like, how did you land in this? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and what would you tell someone who's maybe at that level two of her business and is like, I might have to go deeper here, but how did you find your way into it?
Yeah. Well, To be honest, when I first started learning about online businesses, it was 2015, and I started wondering, what is this passive income? I have never been someone who wants to work really hard. And
Mm.
that might like that pisses some people off, but I don't believe that I was here to just grind for 40 plus hours a week. I am an Enneagram 7, a manifesting generator. I'm like, I want to enjoy my life. Fun is my love language. And so even growing up, I would be the first person to call in sick to work if there were plans. My college roommates used to just make fun of me how I had no work ethic, and it wasn't that I didn't have work ethic. I was actually a very hardworking person,
Yeah.
but my priorities were just very different than what we're conditioned that they should be. And
Yes.
so
I
I
love
started
you
looking
sharing
in.
that. I really appreciate you sharing that of like
Oh,
also like how you just had that different wiring from the start of like I'm here to have fun. Like and I'm gonna make money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to have to work hard. And it was really, so I had this, I don't want to have to work really hard. And so I started looking into the online business world, and I was able to create something over the years, start building a personal brand. I was actually building a personal brand for years before I ever actually launched anything. When I
Yeah.
finally did create a course, that course took off, and I made six figures the first year and was able to quit my corporate job while I had a newborn at home.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so that was in 2019. And so a lot of people see the 2019 and they don't see the brand building from 2015 to 2019.
Yeah.
But so I built that, and the six figures came very easily. But what happened after that was I started being like, all right, that kind of felt easy. I really love this, selling a $400 course and from home with my baby.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, I want more. I want to hit 200K. I want to hit 500K. I want to create $1 million. And so I started working really hard. I started putting in more effort, more investment, more time.
So it's
And
like almost like that's when like the business conditioning started coming in of like almost like okay, if I
yes,
want more, well then I must have to like that's kind of where that yeah.
yeah. So I started doing the most. And what I recognized was that the squeeze wasn't the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Like I was maybe making a little bit more, but I'm like, is it actually worth all of this extra effort?
Yeah.
And then I got into this spiral where I was like feeling like I needed to work really hard. And I went from being like, oh, I'm actually making money with ease. I then created a problem where it didn't feel easeful anymore.
Yeah. And it
And
just started feeling like I love how you said the orange analogy because it's like if you felt the pressure. It just
mhm,
sounded
yeah,
like
I'm trying
pressure.
so hard, and it's like a little bit of juice is coming out, but I feel like I could get the same amount of juice with like the tiniest bit of pressure, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what I recognized, I started realizing that there was a block. I realized, okay, this is working for other people. So it's
Yeah.
not something that isn't possible.
Yeah.
It's that there is a reason that it's not happening for me because I'm checking all the boxes. I'm doing all of the things.
Yeah. Yep.
And what I started to uncover was that I actually had a core belief about myself that I have to work hard to get results. And that story began as a child because I actually struggled a lot in school.
Yeah.
And I'm a small person. I know you can relate to that. You know, I'm
Yes.
5'2", and growing up, I always wanted to play sports, but I wasn't the first pick at everything. I would try out for all the sports teams, and I would maybe make some of them, but I would have to work twice as hard as everyone to get picked.
Yes.
Whereas my sister was more athletic. She was more naturally smart. She was
Mhm.
younger than me too. So I always say I was working twice as hard to be average,
Yeah. Yeah. To even be up
to
to
keep
her,
up.
right? Yeah.
Yes, to even
Yeah.
keep up with the people around me, I was working twice as hard. And so I created this narrative and this core belief about myself that I have to work harder than people. And that really served me for a long time. But then I realized here I am trying to create this business model where I don't have to work hard because I don't want to have to work hard. But I also have a core belief about myself that I have to work hard to get results.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
I
I
didn't
think
know what to do about it, but I'm like, something needs to change.
yes, and so many CEOs, I think that's where that's like an invitation, right? Where you are starting to see an invitation to go inwards of like, oh, I have a belief that I don't want. I want a freedom-based business. I want it to be easeful. And you even had like a narrator, you had a story that matched that, right? When you made that six figures from that $400 course.
Yeah.
But when there's a conflicting belief in there and you're trying to scale to your next level, it's like something's got to give. So, like, what happened then?
Exactly.
How did you end up going deeper?
Yeah. And so from that moment, I started to realize that once I realized, okay, there's something going on. Maybe I do need some of this mindset work that everyone's talking about. This was like 2020, right?
Yeah.
And so I started looking into that, and I actually really just dove head first. I invested, I think it was like $1,500 a month to be part of some membership program, like the Alpha Femme world. Like I was in my hospital bed with, I had just had my second baby, and I invested in a year-long program to like really learn about the energetics
Yeah.
and identity and all of that. Um, and I started just diving into it. And then I hired a shaman, and I started really going deep on my past life, and I hired an inner child therapist, and I hired a nervous system coach, and
Oh my gosh.
not all at once, but
Yeah,
over the
yeah, but yeah,
years,
yep. You were like, yeah, adding in all these
slowly.
different tools, modalities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying out all these different modalities because I saw how much, wow, this is really unlocking something different inside of me. And over those years, I was able to scale my business to $400,000 a year, and while raising two babies. I had my kids in 2018 and 2020. And so that was all happening, and I was working 20 hours a week and had the raising little kids. So my capacity, I was really pushing my capacity, and I was thriving. I was doing it. And so that was my way of rewriting what was possible for myself. But I did have, the strategy wasn't enough. I had to be able to go inwards and really shift the identity and the beliefs.
100%. Oh my gosh, Sarah, that's wild. And especially again, like as a fellow mother, when our kids are like small too, I mean, it's just like the different needs that they have when they're little. And like, so to be
Constant.
present for that, and also then to be present for like this growing and scaling of your business, but staying true to your values of like, I don't want this to mean 60-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks, or even 20-hour weeks, but the 20 hours feels exhausting, right? You've
Yeah.
always like tried to make it feel easeful and coming from this place of passion and joy. So I love that you early on then at that point, you noticed a pattern, you noticed that belief coming up of like, okay, I could work really hard, but I feel like I'm not getting like the same output that I should. And so you dove deep into the inner work. So is that when you began to realize that was the level and depth of work that you wanted to provide? Because like I've seen, I love your content. I've been inside some of your, Telegram programs and introductory of our world, and now we've been in some mentorship together. And I just want to say you embody this work, and you know how to facilitate it, and you know how to coach. So like, when did you see that that was your calling?
Yeah, I actually saw the need for this even before I saw it for myself. When I
Mm.
first started mentoring, my first course was called Beginner Photography for Moms. It was a $400 photography course for moms. And after that, I created a mentorship because a lot of these people were loving it and wanted to become photographers, which I had done on the side before I had kids.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I had no idea that
Yeah.
there was photographer Sarah era.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it all started, just like
Oh
me
my
and my
gosh.
camera.
Oh my gosh.
And so I would be on calls with these women. I'd be like, okay, you're going to go make a post and announce your offers and da da da. And they'd be like, okay, okay, okay. And then nothing would happen. And
Mm.
I started realizing that they don't need a cheerleader. They don't need someone to tell them what to do.
Right.
They don't feel comfortable. They don't have the confidence. I did. I had that confidence to go do that, but they don't have my nervous system. They don't have the same they don't
Belief.
have the same resources, beliefs, whatever it is, to do the
Yes.
same things. And so I actually, before I did all this work for myself, I hired a mindset coach to teach me how to mindset coach my clients before I even did it for myself, which is so
Wow.
funny.
So you
So I
were
saw it
already on
quickly.
the cutting edge of like,
Yeah.
I don't need to give them more tips, strategies, or coaching calls. I need to
Yes.
get a mindset coach in here.
Yes. And this
That
was
is
in
like brilliant.
2019.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
And so then over the years, my business actually evolved to, because I did so well with my course, people started asking me if I could help them create their course. I started mentoring people on course creation. I started a course creation agency for the people who didn't want to do it themselves. And then while I had that agency, people would come to me with courses. So for example, a client came to me and she's like, I want to create this nutrition course. And she's mapping out the curriculum for me. And I am an expert at creating really good curriculums. This is where I kind of stemmed from, why my courses took off so well.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm looking at the curriculum and I'm like, okay, so you're teaching them about macros, you're teaching them about movement, you're teaching them about all of these things that they need to do. I'm like, do you think, and this conversation is conversations that I ended up having with so many of my clients, but just this one, for example, I'm like, do you think that the reason that these people are unhealthy or overweight is because they don't know what to eat and they don't know how to move their body? And she's like, well, no, they probably, but like they don't know exactly. And I'm like, okay, but is telling them exactly what to eat going to change their habits, going to change their identity, going to help them work through like the fears they have about losing weight? And she's like looking at me like I have three heads. Like, I have to do that. Yeah, you're right, but I don't know how to do that. And so
Right.
I started actually then helping clients bring this work into their courses
Yeah.
of like, yes, your expertise, but let's also help them transform on a deep level.
Yeah. Yeah.
I then also, as I'm teaching them, okay, let's go launch your course, all of a sudden their fears are coming up and I'm having to coach them through their own fears.
Yeah.
And so what I really started to realize after a couple of years of this agency is like, this is actually what I'm most powerful at. Anyone can go create a course.
Yeah. Yeah. And even teach someone else how to create a course. But
Yes.
it's the, you and I have had this conversation, Sarah. It's the be, do, have. It's
Yeah,
the being that you are really good at, like getting out of people of like, how do you be the person that launches a course? How do you be the person that loses the weight? How do you be
exactly.
the top 1% coach? Like that's
Yes,
your, I would say,
exactly.
your secret sauce, your specialty.
Yes, exactly. So then I really had to actually myself go through a whole identity shifting as I stepped away from being known for courses and strategy, which is
Yeah.
really easy to sell, to shifting into what we're talking about now and really owning that. And I would say that that journey has been unraveling over the last few years. And, really, really the last month, 6 weeks working with you, Maria, has been massive to be able to accelerate the clarity of where this zone of genius, where my body of work is best suited.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so powerful, working together.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, something that like with nervous system regulation, with working with mastering the self. And I know you've seen this in your journey and with your coaching clients and all of that. Like this work can help the masses. It should help the masses. Like this is the work that we should be equipping moms with, kids with, right? Like, and I know you're like lacing this into like even the tools that you're giving your children and all of that. Like, so we know it can move the masses. And I want to say how I think it's easy for us, as we're in our evolution of our own businesses as well, is that we can get our business to a certain level and we can think like, okay, I've done that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
okay, yeah, I'm self-aware. I'm aware of my thoughts. I'm aware of my beliefs. I've done some healing before. I think women can get to a place of business of like, I've built something. It feels great, but they can feel themselves on the edge of their next growth, the edge of their next, like, oh, okay, who could I go after next? What could I do next? And they find themselves maybe like feeling almost either back at square one or like, oh, I need to go deeper into this. So can you tell me, for a woman she's already a high performer, she's built something, and I know you work with this level of client
Mm-hmm.
of like, yeah, but she's on the edge of her next growth.
Mm-hmm.
Where does this nervous system leadership come into play? How have you seen it help yourself and or your clients when we again go to these next levels of our own edges?
Yeah. The first thing and the most important thing that I like to help my clients get really clear on is what they're actually avoiding by staying where they are. So when someone says they're stuck, I really reflect back to them like, you feel stuck, but you're actually choosing stuckness because there is your comfort zone, your nervous system enjoys where it's at right now, even though your human mind is saying, I'm so uncomfortable. I want my next level. I want to make more money. I want more clients. Your nervous system doesn't care about any of that.
Yeah.
It cares about creating the same emotions over and over again because that's what feels safe. That's what feels predictable. Your nervous system creates predictability, not potentiality.
Yeah.
And so when you get really clear on what it is you actually don't want to feel, you're able to neutralize that emotion in your body so that that no longer exists. So let me give you an example. So let's say you are at the 200K a year mark. You're making 200K. You have, pretty much the same clients keep signing on and on because you're amazing. And you're getting the same amount of views. You things are filling up. It's great. Things are rolling, but you're telling yourself you want this quantum leap. You want your 7-figure year. And in your head, you're like, okay, that just means like I'll raise my prices and I'll get like 50% more clients and you have a whole plan. So you're looking at that and you're taking action. But what you haven't looked at is the fact that when you are at the there's something in your body that the thought of making 7 figures, it's triggering something. It's triggering a fear of being disowned, misunderstood, asked for money, ridiculed, clients hating you, legal issues, like whatever it might be. And it could be a slew of things.
Yes.
But there's something that you associate with being and having that stops you from actually creating it. And this is where self-sabotage comes in. We think that we are doing everything, but the reality is your actions aren't driving the boat. Your nervous system is driving the boat. And as if they see, no, that is not what we've always done, it will revert back to what feels safe and what's at shore versus sailing out into the unknown.
Yes, yes, yes. It made me think of, anybody can lead someone through, well, not anybody, but you can, a lot of times people focus on like the what do I want and visualize it. And that's great. Visualize it, what, like get clear on it. But like you said, unless you're asking the really uncomfortable question, which is, why don't you have it yet? Or what are you avoiding by not being there yet? Right? Like that's like the less sexy, more direct question. But that's what you need to get at of like, why doesn't this feel safe in the body yet? Why am I still choosing to be in the unknown, the stuckness, the like, I'm not really sure what to do. I don't know how to get there. Or like, oh, I'm like still doing like these actions and I'm not seeing any results. And don't they say like insanity is just doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results?
Yeah.
And so it means asking ourselves the uncomfortable questions. So I love how like you also articulated an example of we say we want X, but if we're not asking ourselves in the being, how am I going to shift that?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing changes.
Yeah. And so if you ask yourself, okay, what is it that I'm actually afraid of will happen when I get to that point? Even just asking yourself that and writing down what feels scary about that and being honest with yourself. You can start to look at them like, oh yeah, I actually do have a fear that I'm going to be misunderstood or that I will not be friends with these people anymore, or whatever it might be. You can then start to create neutrality around that, around, okay, I'm afraid that I'll be disowned by my parents. Maybe your parents think money is bad. And the fact that you're making 7 figures and you're posting about it, they're going to be absolutely disgusted by you. That's a really hard pill to swallow.
Yes.
And so if that were the case, you would be able to be like, okay, that feels really uncomfortable and really sad. And it doesn't even mean that it's the truth. It just means like that's how your body feels.
Yeah.
And so what I would have my clients do is actually we would go in somatically and feel that fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would that feel like if your parents literally messaged you and were like, we're disappointed in you, we're like upset with you, or how dare you, how would that feel? And feel it now, because the fear of it happening means you're already feeling it and it hasn't even happened.
Yeah, you're already creating that in your head.
Yes, you're
and
creating that suffering.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to avoid it by not achieving the thing. But the reality is you're already feeling it. And Michael Singer talks about an example of this. He gives the example in his book, The Untethered Soul, about how so many people are walking around with this thorn in their side. You brush up against a rose bush, you get pricked by a thorn. And if the thorn is the fear that represents the fear in your body, like you have this fear that's there, but instead of just pulling it out, because pulling it out kind of is uncomfortable and feeling your fear is uncomfortable, But it also, once it's out, once you feel it, you're free. You're free from the thorn, you're free. But what people do instead is they build protective layers around the thorn.
Yeah.
Instead of pulling the thorn out, I'll just build this protective layer so my shirts don't touch it. Well,
Yeah.
then you need like a different type of jacket, and then you need a different type of bed and a different, and all of a sudden your whole life, you think that you're living in alignment, but what you're actually doing is you're living in avoidance. And your
Yes.
whole life is an avoidance strategy of the thing that you're afraid of, the thing
Yes.
that you don't want to trigger. And that's how most people are living. And that's how most people are operating their businesses.
That makes me want to say something that all of that, Sarah, all of that. And like, I think it's really hard for us to see that for some of us, it's like, I think you can get to a level of business, whatever level of success feels comfortable to them. Like I hit my six figures, I hit my multi six or whatever. I'm doing what I came here to do. And you realize though that this whole time you've actually still been operating in, well, I needed to prove myself. Well, I always wanted to prove that I was worth it, and I am now, and I did it. Or like ultimately, like you said, it's like, yeah, you built the business, but with all these thorns, right? With all this energy of like, well, I showed them what I can do. We actually, it's like it's uncomfortable to say and to really face that, but
Yeah.
anybody can work really hard to prove yourself, to show someone you could, to prove your worth, to say I did, like all of these different things. And it's not to say that like, that's still an amazing level of success to get to. But I
Mhm.
think for many women who are like, I want to go deeper, I'm here to like start a revolution, I'm here for more.
Yeah.
It's going to mean the work of like picking out the thorns and
Yes.
doing that in like a loving but direct way
Yes.
because we can't keep avoiding.
Yeah. And I think that there are a lot of people out there who are building their businesses from ego, and it doesn't mean that, and a lot of them are very successful at it.
Yes. Yes.
However, my clients are not the people who are here to build from ego. That may have been the reason that they started, but you
Yes.
reach a certain level where you're like, it's actually not about ego anymore. Like I don't want to have to prove myself anymore.
Yes.
And I was just having this conversation with some clients this week because one of them has shifted niches, and she's saying her last niche was really easy to explain and people really understood what she did. And so when friends or family would ask her what she would do, she did, it was very easy to articulate, they could understand.
Yeah.
Moving into something a little bit more woo or a little bit more misunderstood, she's finding herself a little bit shaky in the delivery when someone asks.
Yeah.
And what I reflected to her was that when we are looking for validation outside of us, we receive social cues differently. So if Aunt Sally asks, "Hey Sarah, how's your business going? What are you doing these days?" And I'm feeling really insecure about how do I communicate this? How do I make her understand me? How do I make it seem how successful I am? I'm looking for evidence from her that I'm safe.
Yeah.
Her reaction, her energy, the things she says, the eye movements she makes, I'm reading into all of that. And
Yes.
her reaction is going to determine my confidence
Yes.
versus, so that's not a powerful woman. A powerful woman is someone who doesn't need to explain herself, doesn't need to be understood, and not just saying, I don't need anyone to understand me, but actually feeling like, oh, yeah, actually, this is what I'm doing now, and it's going really well. I X, Y, and Z, and they can look at you with a blank face, and you don't make it mean anything about you.
Yes.
That's power. So this
Yeah.
is two exact same situations from two different levels of self mastery, and the experience that you have just even in a conversation that we all encounter this situation in our lives and as entrepreneurs.
Yeah. That is so powerful. Power. You take your power back when you can talk to Aunt Sally or whatever the situation is, but you can talk to
Yeah.
Aunt Sally. You can share very simply what you do, and whether she gets it or not, you actually still feel in your power.
Your confidence is insourced. You don't need validation from anyone, and that's someone who's powerful.
Yes. And I think even like it even lands on that term, which I do think certain terms can get thrown around, but like I know you, it's like you and I get like nervous system capacity. So like when we use the term, we're using it correctly. But like
Yes.
you're even displaying how in a difficult conversation, whether it's with Aunt Sally or for I think a lot of women who are in that like scaling now to that next level of their business, they're having to have uncomfortable conversations with their OBM or team.
Right.
It's having the capacity to
Mhm.
hold the discomfort,
Yes.
having the capacity to maybe hold the other person's disappointment and not making it mean anything and still holding your power. So again, these are like just huge situations and times as a CEO where you really want to be able to maintain and stand in your own power. You need to have the nervous system infrastructure. You need to be able to
Mhm.
and lead from that embodied leadership. And I want to briefly touch upon because I'd love to hear your take on this, and it's another reason why I wanted to have you on, is, I call it like leading from your soul led leadership, like leading from what is your soul purpose. For example, you mentioned that client who she knew her soul was saying, I want to go deeper into like this woo work. And that means leaving where my ego felt safe, which was maybe whatever, talking about marketing or bookkeeping, whatever felt easier. But she's feeling that soul calling and she's going to go into that. She knows that's her soul purpose. And it's like, I want women to be able to tap into that,
Mhm.
but it means nothing if it's not like that's where soul and body are so interconnected and we can't have one without the other. So it's like I can have really juicy conversations with women of like, yeah, like my soul calling is to do this, that, and the other thing. But like you said, then they're either like not taking the moves on it
Yeah.
or they find themselves in this stuckness. And it's because, okay, yes, I love that you're listening to your heart and you can feel your soul calling, but now I need you to map it into the body. I need you to
Yes.
sit with the emotions, sit with the beliefs. Like it's such a dual
Well,
approach.
it really just is the duality of soul and human working together.
Yes,
That's what we're navigating as soulful leaders, as humans,
yes,
that we are souls having a human experience. And so our soul might just want to fly and we don't want to be having to deal with the 3D and the linear and all of this. And the more that we can actually realize that there is something bigger and we can tap into that, but that actually requires our conditioning, our nervous system to get on the same page as that, and that requires a lot of work.
yes, yes. And it's work that is so important. And if you're listening to this and if you're listening to this podcast, it's like this is the work I believe for leaders going forward. Whether you're a leader, CEO, executive, you've got big dreams and missions on your heart and you're ready to take it to that next level. I would urge anybody who's feeling that on their heart to also go deeper into the inner work. Like there's such this embodiment. And Sarah, you've been an embodiment of it. That's why I've loved working with you and I've loved supporting your work because I think a lot of people actually can talk big about this type of stuff, but you can kind of see through it. Like it kind of feels like it's still a bit of a
Surface
facade.
level. Mm-hmm.
Yes, versus a woman who's deeply embodying it. And so I really appreciate that in your work and in your content. And so, if you were to leave any just message for anyone who's like feeling called to go deeper in this work, and I also maybe want to voice, and I don't know, you've seen this maybe too, maybe there is a fear of going deeper because I think a lot of us kind of feel like, well, I've done that, I've done it, like I'm good. So like, what would you say to that woman who's maybe feeling on the brink of wanting to step in? And then would you also share what are some best ways to enter your world or just stay connected with you?
Yeah, this is a great question because I agree. A lot of people look at this work as opening Pandora's box. And for the people who white knuckling it is really working for them and staying, in fight or flight has served them really well. The thought of doing anything different is very scary to them. And I see the resistance from a lot of leaders who actually talk about somatics and capacity. They're actually living in fight or flight. And like, it's
Yes.
nothing. And I'm not trying to speak downly of them, of just this is the human experience. It is hard.
And it's a
And so what
next
I
level of embodiment that you have,
it
yeah,
is, it
deeper. Yeah.
is. And so what I will say is that the way that I work with my clients in expanding their capacity, their nervous system, their identity, we don't have to get into the drama of the why. I think what a lot of people resist is, I don't want to go unpack my childhood. I don't want to have to talk poorly about this experience, or I don't want to have to talk about that at all. And I know for me, I was kind of like that. I'm like, the past is the past. I don't want to have to deep dive and cry my eyes out every time I want to up level. So a tool that I give my clients and I can send a training on this, but it's called the pause framework. And really, it's just when you learn to just pause before you react. And that sounds simpler than it is. I like to use an example of like if you're driving and someone cuts you off, your conditioning, because your parents probably reacted like this, is to yell, to honk, to swear, to throw them the bird or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
All I'm asking is a moment of pause before you do anything. Because what you're doing in that moment is you're actually just waking up to your habits, to your reactions. And the more that you can pause before you react, the more conscious you become, the more awake, and then you can choose your next move. That's as simple as it gets to be. You can change your entire life by simply pausing and choosing your response versus reacting on autopilot. Like that's one piece of it. Have a whole 5-step framework where we dive a little bit deeper into how you can actually unpack how you're feeling, so like the somatic piece of it, and then the evolved action. But really, that's as simple as it has to be. And if everyone just even took a day to practice that, you would notice how you show up differently in your life.
Yeah, that's huge. And one thing I want to say to your work before you share like how we can connect is I also want to point out like a pattern, I think, especially that if you're a high performer, a leader, CEO, which is sometimes like, oh, I'll have a little bit of it's almost like we take healing and inner work, but as in short dopamine hits.
Mm.
Right? Of like, oh, I saw that modality. Okay, I'm gonna go do that. Oh, there's this like shaman thing happening over here. I'm gonna do that. Oh, I could have like a one-off subconscious healing with this person to go deep into that thing. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And I will say, while like if you're in an exploration phase, you're just maybe you're like exploring who do I want to work with, where do I want to go deeper. But also I think we can get like tied to just like these short-term dopamine hits and we can say I've done the healing, I've done the inner work. And what I want to say to like the type of work that Sarah does and being in longer term mentorship, either one-on-one or inside a program or something that does this nervous system leadership and regulation long term, is that nervous system training isn't just quick one-offs.
Yeah.
So like I just want to speak to why, like, if you're interested in getting into Sarah's world and doing some of this deeper work, there is huge power just on a science body based level of like it's not going to just be 5 days in Telegram and now your like nervous system is cured. It's like that'll give you a taste.
Mm-hmm.
And the deeper work that Sarah provides, it's so important so that your nervous system gets to feel safe and it increases the capacity and you actually begin to embody it on different levels. Like, so you need time to integrate it.
Yeah, and I thank you for saying that first of all, but also the things don't happen in a silo. Like your life changes in the small moments. And so that's why I like working with my clients long term, because they might be all great for a month or 2 months, but then all of a sudden things start happening, and they're happening little by little. They're little things, but they actually, how they respond to those little things, the patterns that keep coming up, that's what changes their identity, their life, and therefore their results. And so a lot of times they can't really see these things, but the longer I have to work with them, I can also call out patterns as well of like, well, the last time this happened, this is how we reacted. Maybe we should look at this differently here. So this is what I truly see as our life's work, especially as entrepreneurs. I always say that parenting and entrepreneurship are the two most expansive things that you can do, because they are a direct mirror to what's happening inside of you. And so if your kids aren't listening to you, or if your business results aren't where you're at, like the shift needs to happen inside of you.
Yeah, yeah. So, Sarah, what's the best way for a woman, if she's listening, to get into your world and with some of your closer work that you do? If a woman, has been in business and now she wants to take it to the next level and go deeper, how can she connect? And I'll also be dropping these links down in the show notes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I love connecting with everyone on Instagram. My handle's the Sarah Lambert. And I have a free 5-day reality shift challenge that I'm happy to share with you, Maria, and your community, which is all about the shifts that we need to take, both the inner and the outer shifts that we need to take to really change the results that we're getting on a physical and spiritual level.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it. Amazing. I will be sharing those links below. Sarah, it was amazing to have you on the podcast today. And to the listeners, it was so good to have you here as well. And again, I hope everyone has a great week.
Thanks, Maria.